Hello, everyone. I'm Danny Dixon, and I'm your moderator with two of our Burke County candidates for commissioner, Mike Stroud and Shawn Freeman. Mike, would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, I'm Mike Stroud, running for county commissioner. I'm excited about it. People know me from Stroud's Building Supply and all the things I've done here in town. They know my wife from Aldi, food stores, and so we're excited about seeing things that's going to take place.
I'm glad to be here. Shawn?
I'm Shawn Freeman, again running for county commissioner here in Burke County. A lifelong member of the county and looking forward to the possibility of making great changes for the county citizens.
I'm really excited that we're gathering here again today, and look forward to looking at some specific questions that the Burke County citizens had asked me to turn around and ask you guys. And
Sure.
again, and I'd like to get your take on it. And the first one specifically goes right back to, what do you see are the three most pressing issues facing Burke County, and how do you plan to address them? And Shawn, I'll begin with you this time. What's your first priority?
The very first priority for me is to instill trust back into the position of county commissioner. I think that far too many times when you look into politics and things of that nature, I think folks go in for the right reasons. I think, however, when they get in there, they begin to look and think things through and do things that they want to see happen for the county. And that's simply not what it's set up to be. We are just a springboard and a voice for our citizens. I think that we've got to give the citizens back the voice. And I think that also that when we do this, that it's going to reinstill that trust that the citizens have in the elected officials.
Right.
And so that's the very first step for me, is to reinstill that trust they have in us, and to believe that if there's something going on in this county, we're going to come to them, we're going to seek their input, and we're going to go with what they're telling us that they feel is best for Burke County. It's not about, again, it's not about what Shawn Freeman feels is best about Burke County. It's about what those that elected and put me in that position feels best for the county.
Yeah. Trust is quite important. You being, of course, a former police chief and being in law enforcement for all these years, so trust comes natural for you, because, again, I know the caliber of person you are, Shawn. That's
Awesome.
great. Mike, what about for you? The same question, again, going right back to the issues facing Burke County. What's your first priority?
Well, I want to reiterate what Shawn just reiterated. It's just that transparency, that communication and customer service again, to the people don't know how to access things. They don't know how to, there's a veil. I've been in business for 30 years here in town, and I still feel, inadequate sometimes in the overall accessing things.
Right.
Now I know that people trust us, like Shawn said, to represent them. And we're blue collar people. I mean, we're working class people. We've always been, for the people that's out there working service industry and things like that. And I've seen that just in my business, how important that is. But people got to be on the same team. They got to know what's going on. There's got to be open communication. So I'm all about servicing the citizens of Burke County by having those lines of communication open and pulling back the veil so we can see everybody's got to move together as a team. It can't, we are doing certain things as commissioners that we can lead in and set that standard, but we got to have the citizens behind us. And they got to know, hey, man, we appreciate those guys because they're letting us know what's going on as they're going.
Again, there's both highly controversial topics for some people, but specifically, it sounds like you guys are starting to map out a clear path to transparency. How do you feel about the transparency, Shawn?
Look, and you take that back into law enforcement, if you want to build community trust and you want to get community buy-in, the transparency has to exist. And, and sometimes, what you're putting out there is not going to be popular. But again, that's why you got to be open to that feedback too.
Right.
You can't be afraid of the feedback that's coming in. And then secondly, you can't be afraid to be in the community because you're going to be asked a question that you may not be able to answer. Am I going to have all the answers? And I'll tell you straight up, there's a high probability that somebody's going to propose a question that I don't have the answer to.
Sure.
But this is what I can promise, is that the list of people that I know across this nation who's probably faced something very similar that I can reach out to get feedback from, to come back with suggestions, and then us work together. That is the key here, working with the citizens and the county commissioners, working together to bring and build viable solutions that's going to be best for our county.
Yeah.
So the transparency is a must for that first step of trust.
Yeah. Mike, I know you're all about transparency. As long as I've known you, like I said, you've been transparent not only with your customers, but you're transparent in trying to help people and help the youth. I've seen that happen in you. I really, truly have. So transparency is a key issue for you.
Well, you got to help people no matter what the circumstances are. Like Shawn said, when something happens, you can work through it. We can work through a problem. A problem has a solution. But the main thing is knowing that you're approachable, knowing that you can sit down and talk in a civil way. And, it seems like everybody's on the edge now. It seems like, the people are just aggravated with government in general because, it just seems like it's always, the government's not working for us. It seems like we're working for the government. And, I'm all about making things work for the citizens. I'm all in for the citizens. And I don't think the citizens feel really like they're part of what's going on. We're directed in what's going on, but it's got to move together completely as a unit in anything we're doing, just in the infrastructure, the beautification, the security, the schools, the taxes, the money being made, manufacturing. We can do all that stuff in-house here in Burke County. We don't have to go nowhere else. We don't have to ask nobody else. We've got the best people here in Burke County. And so I'm all about the home team. I'm tired of the going out. I'm all about what can we do right here together, collectively, get our minds together, everybody come together. And I think me and Shawn and Brian, we're looking to bring some new leadership, and it's time for some change in those areas, and I think we can bring it.
That's it.
And let me piggyback on that as well, if you don't care. It goes right back to when we talk about our property tax reevaluations, and we talk about foreclosures and things of that nature. Right now, there's a business out of Asheville, an attorney's firm out of Asheville, who assisted with the property reevaluations, which, in my opinion, if they're basing it off Buncombe County style of property tax evaluations, that's why we saw such a great increase. There's an article out, and I forget it's Nexus and Homes or something like that talked about the national average and from between 2022 and 2023 for property tax increase was 4%. However, on a piece of my property, it more than doubled. It was 10% increase. Wow. And then, when it comes time for the foreclosures, these folks, they don't know the people here.
Right.
And so therefore, they're not quick to work with them. They just kind of throw the paperwork out there. And that's why we've got to bring this stuff back in-house. We have people that can do that function in this county.
Yes.
And why we're not using those people who understand and know the people of Burke County is beyond me.
Yeah.
Wow. So, Shawn, mentioning, an Asheville company coming into Burke County and dealing with the Burke County citizens, we know that, that the Asheville area for many years has been a very much a tourist area, and the inflation, of course, is really high there. The cost of living is high there. And, we don't want to bring anything like that to Burke County. It's sort of a sad scenario. What do you think?
Well, they kind of taunted us as tourism. That's kind of what we're going to be built on. They kind of is what they've talked about, and we do have a beautiful place. But that being said, y'all know I'm very progressive on things, the infrastructure, the beautification, all those kind of things. But we can't just give this stuff out. We got to slow the change down for the people in Burke County. We got to let people know, hey, we're just not giving the county up. If y'all want to start investing in Burke County, that's fine, but we're just not giving it up to everybody else and everybody that's kind of, I seen this stuff, and I'm from York County, Rock Hill, South Carolina originally, and y'all seen how Charlotte's gone up, Mecklenburg, and Rock Hill and Charlotte and Fort Mill was right there. And our county's kind of like that with Hickory and Asheville, and you just can't give that stuff away because people will come in and they'll take it up, and the citizens will be left out, man. I've known people already now, they've sold their place because they've had to, because it's cost of living so high and everything else, and they can't come back here where they've been raised. You ain't gonna buy back here. Where you gonna buy it? It's too expensive. And to me, we can resolve those things.
That's something to think about. Just a home right around the corner for me sold for $360,000, and you get to thinking the average home that had been selling in that region was just a little over 100,000.
Yeah.
And you get to thinking how many people can start to afford these high-priced homes, and they're not, so to speak, a luxury home.
Well, we got to bring the manufacturing back here too, local. Everything we're talking about is local for me. I mean, business, everything, the people, the citizens, everybody's looking out. All these companies are international, but what are we doing here local? We've got the resources and the people, Shawn.
Well, and the thing is, we got to pump the brakes a minute here.
Yeah.
We got to slow things down a little bit because they've got it moving at warp speed. And we've got to start looking at how this is impacting our citizens. One of the biggest concerns for me is our senior citizens. People that are living on fixed incomes cannot afford the rates that our property taxes and things like that are increasing. Now, here's another thing to throw in. With the proposed 42% insurance price hike, now think about your home insurance if it increases 42%, on top of the property taxes. And we talk about, our senior citizens, a lot of these folks are living on anywhere between $1,000 and $1,200 a month. How do you do that? That is impossible in today's economy. So that's why I say we've got to pump the brakes. We've got to reevaluate what we're doing. We've got to start looking internally because we want folks who understand our people.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, like Mike said, we don't want the people leaving Burke County.
Yeah.
We don't want you to be forced out because you can't afford to be here no more.
We want you to come up.
That's right. We want to build our people up so
Yeah.
that, number one, they stay here.
Yeah.
The younger generation stays here and raises their kids here
Yeah.
because we got a fantastic school system.
Yeah.
We've got a good infrastructure where that's concerned. But in turn, we've got to make it affordable for these folks to live here. And that goes back to where we talk about, there's things that we can do, taking care of the infrastructure, which in turn is less money over, short periods of time that's going to increase taxes. We got to take care of those things that we already have. We got to make sure that we keep the things viable and functioning. We got to look for these grants. I was just this week looking online at various grants that are offered out there. There is a ton of environmental grants and different grants like that for like paving roadways and things of that nature. We've got to delve into that state and federal money to help offset. So therefore, when we do things like that, we're going to drive our tax value, our property tax value back down and make it affordable again while maintaining our infrastructure.
Yeah.
Mike, I was just speaking with a man just the other day that just turned 70 that's having to go back to work again because he couldn't afford the tax base. And,
I don't like it. I don't like our senior citizens working in Walmart and, everywhere else. I mean, and I know that there's things that people get active. They got other careers, and that generation's always been a working generation. And I thank God that they instilled that in me growing up. I mean, I thank God for all my elders. I've served them my whole life, and I love serving them, and they're so wise. And I've gotten wise myself in my older years. But learning from the people that are seniors and stuff like that, you got to take care of people like that. You got to make sure that things work easier for them, and we can just make it work.
that's a good opportunity. It sounds like you guys are really on the right track because, again, focusing as a senior citizen, I'm a senior citizen, so I appreciate you looking after those interests.
Transitions.
Yeah, that's it. I guess that's what it's all about. Hey, listen, I want to ask you guys both a question, if I could, please, in regarding to what's your position proposed on the Great Meadows mega site. Now, a lot of people are, asking a lot of questions. They don't really understand. Mike, I'm going to throw this question back out to you first, if I could, please.
Yeah. Well, I respond to this. This comes back to the development. I'm all about development. I'm all about bringing it up, having the best and everything. Y'all know this. I speak that all the time. The infrastructure. Let's talk about the infrastructure. Okay. Let's get the infrastructure right first. We talk about roads. Let's get these roads right. I mean, we're right. Our roads, man, you're riding off the line in the ditches and stuff. We ain't got things right there. There's ways we can make things better. Beautification, make it pretty. Talk about Norfolk Southern and the railroads and things like that. Passenger rail. People saying, why aren't these things happening? Well, heck, look at the railroad. It's dilapidated. I mean, the trains don't run like they used to. Things are just not happening. I believe we're going to be exporting more out of Burke County than we're importing. And that's the way you got to do it, man. We're exporting because our people are back to work. Our restaurants, everything, security, safety, place to raise your family, the best community, the way it's laid out. And these big developments come in. And like I said, I'm all for those things, but we're just not going to give it away right off the bat without the people really knowing what's going on. Now, some people know what's going on, but the people don't know what's going on completely. And, we're going to try to make things known as we're moving forward. We're all about, like we said, the communication. We're going to let you know how this thing's going and who the players are and how it works out. Because you can access us and you can ask us anything. We're going to turn this thing around in those regards for the citizens of Burke County is going to be represented.
Has to be. Shawn, your take?
I'll just say that I've put it out to a lot of citizens asking about their input. And I'll tell you, I've got a small farm and things of that nature. So when you talk about the 46 acres, it varies in the acreage you see up there. There's a couple things that I think as citizens they need to understand is we're only half of this project. this project expands into McDowell County as well. So when we sit here and say we have the say
Yeah.
on what's transpiring with this site, we don't have all the say. It's a say, but it's a joint effort between the two counties. Now with that being said, the feedback is totally negative. And if you sit there and look at it, and I think a lot of the negativity is coming from the fact of lack of due diligence by the folks that are doing this. I think a lot of times they see the dollar signs that are associated with this. And I do not like the philosophy of build it and they'll come, because I mean,
We've already experienced this.
Kathy Road is a prime example of that. Look how many years before we're just now breaking ground now.
Finish
I
that
think that started in the early 90s. And so here's my other concerns that folks have brought up is the fact of the farmland it'll destroy, the timberland it'll destroy, and this is right at the beginning of, I think, if I remember hearing it correctly, two water systems that are major contributors to the Catawba River, and we're not taking things like that into consideration. So, as it's proposed right now, I would tell you that I'm totally against as it's proposed right now. I think we've got to do better due diligence in this. I think we've got to do our homework and dig deeper into this. I think that we need to look and find the right businesses that want to come to the area first.
Yeah.
Let them be the ones to invest this money, not the taxpayers of Burke County investing this money. But I think, too, we've got to look at alternative sites.
Yeah.
I think that, if you look on the east end of the county with Drexel Heritage and other furniture factories and different things like that that's left, do we have other viable sites where the infrastructure is kind of laid out there, the water and things of that nature is already there? Can we take and fix up one of those areas where it won't impact water systems and things like that? So to answer your question, Danny, as it's proposed right now and the way they're trekking with this, I'm totally opposed with what they're doing right now.
Yeah.
Now, do I feel that we need these skilled labor positions in this county? Absolutely. But I'll tell you this too. When you start looking at some of the bigger businesses that are trying to come in here, China is one of the major manufacturers who tries to buy in this country to move forward. And I can tell you right now,
That's a no for me.
If it's anything China related, that is a no right off the bat. I would never allow China to come into Burke County. And, it goes back to what Mike said earlier, the infrastructure and things of that nature with this county. That's why folks are looking so hard at wanting to come to Burke County, because the safety that we have from our law enforcement, our emergency services and things of that nature, that's what is enticing these people to want to come here. But again, it goes back to no to this site.
Yeah.
And let's pump the brakes and let's do our due diligence and let's find the right things that would benefit our county and benefit our citizens and bring skilled labor to this area.
I want to piggyback off that. I think if we turn inward, just like Shawn's saying, we got all the resources inward and already here. I'm like I said, I'm all about big development and stuff like that for certain reasons. But I think for the citizens of Burke County, they got the benefit from this, and citizens are carrying the load for so many things. I don't hear anything but negative things, and that's not good. Because we're not maintaining what we've got. You ride around, look, we're not maintaining stuff. We're not keeping things cut. Okay, there's got to be a pride back in everything. We're going to bring that pride back for everybody. The citizens are going to feel good, make good. It's going to look good. They're going to bring everything back. I'm telling you, this is what it's going to
And it goes to the trust factor too, by what Mike just said. We're not taking care of what we already have.
Yeah.
So why would the citizens entrust our county commission to do the right things and take care of it if we're not taking care of what we already got? That's why Mike's absolutely 100% right. We've got to start taking care of the things we have to start to build back that trust. We've got to give the people the say in the things that are coming in that will benefit them the best. Then we see the trust come back. Then we see progression begin, because at that point, it's where it becomes a team atmosphere, a team between the county commissioners, the elected officials, and the citizens that put them in office. And we become one, and we make this county better than it's ever been.
Exactly.
I think you guys are all hitting on all the right cylinders, because again, if leading up to, Mike, I know you're real, focused on beautification and safety and things of this nature, but, fellas, we just had, some major rainstorms and things like that. We're consistently seeing ditches that have not been cleaned out.
Yep.
We're consistently seeing, of course, roads that are just totally washings just so terrible.
Vote
and
Mike
again,
Stroud,
and it's just
Shawn
not,
Freeman.
it's just not stopping. It's
Well-
just not stopping. The roads is terrible.
Well, the good thing about the rains, that we all experience this, you hate it when it's going on, all the flooring companies love it, used to love it, the flooring, the carpet, got to redo all that stuff. They do good business. But the good thing about the rains, you can see where everything's going. You can see where all the trash is at. And I'm all about cleaning up. They talk about beautification and infrastructure on the websites of Burke County, and thank God for that. But we're going to put it on steroids, because I'm telling you what, it's got to be cleaned up. It's got to be landscaped. It's got to be nice. We're not going to be having tents in the woods. We're going to have trails and nice things. And I'm telling you what, it's all in maintenance. This is like basic housekeeping 101. Just like you clean your house up, your bathroom up, your yard up. It's the same thing. You run the fence line, we're going to clean it up. We're going to bring pride back.
That sounds like just a great proposal.
Well, and it goes back to, we talked about grants. There's copious amounts of grants out there on stormwater runoff that would help us when we find how water needs to be redirected, and things of that nature, and catching those waters that would have debris and things in it. There's grants out there, and huge grants for the environment that would improve all these issues. But we've got to delve into those grants, and we've got to have people that, a lot of times the hard part on the grant isn't the writing of the grant, it's the maintenance of the grant over a period of time, because it is time consuming, and there is a lot of reports in it, because you got to tell about, where are you at in the process, what is the next steps you're going to be doing, and you have to do that over a period of years. But the thing is, we can't be afraid to do that. Right. That is our job. If we are going to be, and I solely and really truthfully deep in my heart feel that, as when I was a department head, as a police chief, I feel as county commissioners, we are stewards of the taxpayers' dollar.
Exactly.
And if we are not, the only way we can be good stewards is look, number one, how do we save the taxpayers' money so we can reallocate that in other areas?
Well, they got to be able to come and open a checkbook.
That's right.
And look,
that's right.
what'd y'all write this check for?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Shawn.
And so, no, you're fine, but that's how we get there is we show them that, look, we're looking for those other funds, those federal funds to help us offset what we're doing here in the county.
Sure, because we all can't absorb those costs. And I get that, as a taxpayer, you as a taxpayer as well too. And we hear this, I was involved with a cleanup just, every year at Lake James. And they were talking about, bringing 30, 40 and 50 sets of tires out of the lake. We all enjoy going out to the lake. It's beautiful out there. You couldn't ask for any better. But by the same token, the citizens around in that area, they formulate a cleanup every year. And, it'd be great, not only if other people would follow that suit across the county, into some of our smaller areas and stuff, and pick up some trash.
They've got some things in littering, I'm fine with people going a little fast, now we can have some controversy here, but littering and throwing stuff, it's just even between Bethel Park there, that will not be tolerated with me. I mean, people want to clean up, but I don't want to clean nobody's trash up, and I can't stand trash on the side of the road. I just can't tolerate it. I just don't think it's right. Leave it in your car. We got places to put trash in its place. It's pretty simple stuff, so anybody that's littering, man, I would soon just have the car shot with paintballs.
Well, here's the thing. This is where it changes, though. Is when we get the buy-in from the citizens, and when I say buy-in, the trust back from the citizens toward the commission, and we start these teams that we're talking about, that stuff's going to come natural.
Yeah,
Every place that I've been where they have faith in their government, the communities come together at least once a year, sometimes twice a year, and they do community trash pick. When I was on the coast, we did it. When I was at Beach Mountain, we did it. When I was at Black Mountain, I took my staff of law enforcement officers, and we went out and did the same thing.
Right. You took your police officers?
I took the police officers out.
Yeah.
We did trash pickup. I mean, in one day we picked up over 70 bags of trash throughout the community. Yeah. And that was just in one small area, but we did that once a month. So when we started doing that, but what we noticed as time went on is we would have our trash pickup days.
Yeah.
And then folks from the community started joining us.
Right.
And then our parks that were run down and kind of dilapidated, we took time to go out and work with the parks.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden we had help coming in from the communities.
That's right.
And so it was our law enforcement, our firefighters joined in, and our citizens joined in, all to make things better.
That's it.
Again, it's teamwork, and you guys are really talking about a lot of teamwork, and I'm glad to see that happening. I'd like to change gears for a second, if I could, please. And Shawn, I'm going to redirect this question to you, if I could, please. What solutions do you propose for addressing the county's substance abuse and the overdose programs? We're knowing that it's taken off across the country, but what about here in Burke County?
So this has been, a growing issue for decades now. And we can relate some of this to the borders, where fentanyl and things like that are crossing the borders at higher rates than we've ever seen. We're seeing record seizures on the border for fentanyl and all these miscellaneous drugs coming from cartels and stuff. But, with that being said, some of the things that we did in law enforcement, it's not always about the charging of an individual. What I tried to instill in my staff is, we got to make a difference in an individual. It does no good to put an individual behind bars when they're going to come back out and reoffend, because we know that a large amount of crime is related back to drugs. So, we would use local, whether it be faith-based programs or the Black Mountain Center, or in some cases, folks will go to those things. But as soon as they know that it's okay to get out, they'll sign themselves out and they leave. And then what do? They go right back to what they were doing. So in some of these cases, what we did was we would work with the court system. We would charge these individuals. We would have the court order drug and alcohol assessments, and then also order that they follow what is recommended for treatment on these things. Because then at that point, you're putting the ball back into the individual's court, saying, look, if you really want this help, then follow what they're saying, and we'll work with the court system to dismiss the charges.
Right.
So when we start talking about the substance abuse, the one thing that I will say is this is a large problem, and it's a large problem not just in the Burke County community, but in communities across the nation.
Sure. Right.
But it can't be funded off the backs of taxpaying citizens in the sense of strictly by our county. In this case, one of the things that's been proposed, and you're going to hear the other county managers say it, is we want to do a regional drug rehabilitation center. But the key there is, number one, it's regional.
Yeah.
It's not for Burke County only. And if you read a lot of the statistics, they tell you that if you want a drug and alcohol rehabilitation to work appropriately, you've got to get them out of the area they're from anyway. And that's why they're going to use it regionally. The next thing you'll see is they're going to tag and they're going to say, look, we're getting $24.4 million from the state to open this rehab center. Well, that's a great deal for the state.
Yeah, it's a great deal for the state.
Divide that $24.4 million up over the 18 years that they're going to pay it out, that's about $1.355 million a year, just a little
That
over.
ain't no money.
That will not even pay for the professional staff each year, not to include.
Can't run the lawnmowers for that.
Well, I was getting ready to say, you won't run your kitchen for it. You won't get your power bills. I mean, all the other stuff.
CEO.
Yeah, the other stuff that's involved with that, and the other thing is, they're proposing to put this at the Burke Catawba Detention Center. Well, you cannot use those funds for the renovations that will be required for that. So now they've reached back out to the General Assembly and asked for $12 million to take care of the renovations. But this is what they made adamantly clear that was in the paper the other day, is regardless if they get that or not, they're going to move forward with this project. Now, this is where my issue is again, we're putting something that should be state funded, state or federal funded, either or, and we're putting it strictly on the backs of the taxpayers. So if the General Assembly doesn't give the $12 million, the $12 million's coming from us.
Wow. So
let me just
finish
finish adding this.
Yeah.
So what that ultimately means is then we're going to pick up the costs for the remainder of the day-to-day operations, the remainders of the salaries, the benefit packages, everything else will come out of our budget as well, which only means that we have to raise taxes again. And that's exactly what we're trying to do, is keep the burden from the taxpayers so we can make it affordable for everybody to live here again. We're going totally against what really should be happening here.
So Mike, like I said, dovetailing on exactly what Shawn was mentioning, the fact of that, will a stigma come with that, so to speak?
Of course,
because we think about if we're going to warehouse these people, so to speak, and then again, the reputation of that of course this Burke County would end up with.
Well, yeah, I understand all these situations. I've been involved in this kind of situations and helping people through drug rehab and issues like that. And it doesn't work. Okay. It's like Shawn says, thankfully you got faith-based places and churches and things like that. That's the only hope people have anyway. They got to have, only God can help you pull you out of the ditch, and sometimes, or you're falling in it yourself. That's the way I believe. But that being said, you can't build no drug facility out here in Burke County with a regional place for, we got North Liberty out there. We've got Jay Iverson. We got some of our most vulnerable citizens of Burke County, and you wanting to build a regional? I say no. Now I understand drugs and people have lost their lives and stuff like that. I've come through that whole gauntlet. I've come up through all that stuff. That's the way my life has been, and only people that are leading the right way can help in that. And putting something like this here in our backyard, no.
Well, yeah, go right back
I was
to
going to say, the thing with me, Danny, is I'm not opposed to helping folks.
Yes.
Don't get me wrong.
We about that.
That is a disease. We all know that substance abuse is a disease. I've lost family members, multiple family members to this. But what I'm saying too is the fact of just like Mike was saying, we can't put this onto our citizens. Number one, the tax base of the citizens. But number two, we talk about wanting Burke County to be safe.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. When these people are committed to this, unless it's a court order, they can sign themselves out. Now, I can guarantee you the agencies that send them here, if we call and say, hey, they're no longer wanting to be here, they're getting ready to walk out, I can promise you they're not going to send a bus up here to pick them up.
Yeah.
So again, it goes back to
it's going to fall on
drugs and crime correlate. And if they're back out there trying to get the drugs and they get on it again in our communities, now the crime rate in Burke County is going to go up again. Now it affects us all over again. Yeah. And then again, all this goes back to the burden on the taxpayer to fix it.
But Mike, you're going to hear people say, well, wait a minute, we're bringing jobs because again, we're bringing jobs to be able to take care of this. Like you mentioned, there'll have to be a staff. They'll have to be somebody to cut the grass there, like you mentioned.
Well, we're bringing jobs starting from the inside out. We're not starting. They can build something like that down in Mecklenburg County or something like that. Those kind of situations like that. But I'm telling you, I just can't see it myself because I know we've worked with it. The lady that works for me, R. March, ran the McDowell Mission Center. We've worked with all the faith-based people here in town and stuff like that, and we're all for it. Thank God for people like Jamie Torres and local people that we've got here that have come through the system, been set free from things like that, can help you get out. We'll help you navigate out of that one by one. But building a thing like that, all to do is attract the drug dealers and all that stuff around that part of our county. I say no. Now, I'm very compassionate for people. I'll cry with you. I'll weep with you. And we'll put you in the right place to get you help, whatever that takes. But I'm telling you what, that's not what we want. We want some manufacturing to come out of our local area, and we want to bring the people in Morganton up, the families up, the children up, the safety up, the streets up. That's not bringing it up. We don't want to concentrate on that. That's just me. I'm sorry.
This is just another example of not doing our due diligence. Not looking at what we have that's existing that could potentially take care of this issue. You're looking at the new Broughton Hospital over there. They're half-staffed. They're not using the entire portion of the building. And really, this needs to be, again, at least a state funded at a minimum. Why are we not looking at saving taxpayer dollars and letting the state do something like this? Letting the states bring in the professionals or hire the professionals out of our area, and then let it be funded and run by the state. The liability that comes along with this is going to be great. And is it a liability we want to put onto our tax base and our citizens and our county commission? And then keep this in mind. Now all we're doing is growing government.
Yeah.
You're making your government bigger because this is now going to be an arm of the Burke County government. And government, I'm all about making government smaller. Give them a smaller portion of what should be run and what should be done and how it should be operated. We should be taking that back and turning it back into the citizens and letting the citizens be the one to do that, encouraging the entrepreneurship and the small businesses, and then let that be what guides us rather than big government.
I agree 100%.
Isn't that what Ronald Reagan said? I'm the government. I'm here to help you.
I'm here to help you.
Yeah, he said that's the 10 most terrifying words.
Well, if the community's open and working with us, like Shawn says, I mean, it's all working the way it's supposed to work, man. We're all on the same team. The preacher takes his hat off and goes into battle, like the old movie The Patriot. We're all here together. We're all working together, but we want to really make sure that the home team is being taken care of. And I know Shawn cares about it. I know Brian cares about it. And I know everybody cares about it, but we want to make it where the citizens really feel like they've got a say in what's going on. They feel like, man, I'm getting behind Shawn. I'm getting behind Mike. Man, these guys are making it happen, and they making us feel like a part of it.
And then if we want to talk about combating this as well and making it safer, we've got to invest our time and money into our law enforcement. And we've got to have court reform and change what the current liberals have put into place with zero bonds and things of that nature, which allows these folks to get right back out and get on drugs and recommit crimes. And we've got to look for ways to put these folks through the court systems immediately, not 6 months down the road. Immediately
Right
get them the help they need right then and there. And it doesn't matter if they have to go down east to get it, because they have regionals everywhere. They're looking at putting a regional here. But if you look, I mean, places that these folks would go, a lot of these are state funded.
Yeah.
So get these folks the help. Let's put them in the right direction. Now, with by funding law enforcement and allowing them to do their jobs, we go back to the safety. And what is that going to do? That's going to attract folks even more to our area, which will help us to grow, which hopefully will help the skilled labor and things of that nature. Yeah. And I know the next thing that's probably going to come up is going to be the housing, how we're going to house these folks, because that's one of the things that's always talked about. Yeah. And I think that's easily fixed.
Yeah, it's real easy.
Look at what McDowell County just did with a partnership. And I say just did. It's been they started it back in 2021 time frame, but working with nonprofit groups who issue to other entities, the funds to be able to start these projects, guaranteed them loans and things of that nature. And the county stepped in and the city of Marion stepped in to help. And what they called it was workforce housing. Yeah. Because what they were doing is drawing in a workforce to fill these vacancies for the positions of the jobs that they needed. But here's the thing, to make it affordable, the state defines that affordability for housing is no more than 30% of a family's income. And we're well above that right now. When you're sitting here seeing one bedroom and one bath apartments, because everything is so hard to find because we don't have enough housing, at $1,500 a month. Those are, man, them are big city prices. Yeah.
That's normal working class people can't afford that. And that's who it bothers me. It bothers me walking around and seeing people at restaurants, the wait staff, and people out there trying to have the American dream. And it just seems like, man, it's just like they're not getting anywhere. We're not getting anywhere. There's no traction. Mm-hmm. Exactly. That's exactly the word I was looking for.
So, Mike, like I said, and if we take this a step further, and if, seeing that the population of this center is built and they sign the people complete the program, or at least they feel like they've completed the program, and then they leave the building, the residents, where do they go? What happens to them? Do they become homeless? They're on the street? Does crime turn around and take off?
I think everybody that's involved in a community can have housing in a community. Same way with the police. People say, Mike, you don't want a police state, do you? No, I don't want a police state, but I want the community policed, and I want the community involved with the police. And if we're all doing this together, but the homeless thing, that's easy. I think it's all about manufacturing. Heck, we got pole barns and houses and barn dominiums and all that kind right here in house in Burke County. Man, we can make houses easy. Tiny houses, anything you want, the most elaborate thing. If they would deregulate some things, if they would just, everybody's so greedy, everything's so elevated, make a fair price, a fair margin. But we can make anything people want. We got to develop the infrastructure for it. Well, it's got to be accessible. That's where we got to come together and get it laid out. I just don't think things are laid out well, because we've got to be innovative. We can do all this in-house. The homeless thing, you got to be working. You got to be putting in. If you want a house, we can help you. We can get you in a place. But it's a pride thing in the community. I think a vision we got to reinstill in people, and they got to feel it all around. The police, the firemen, they got to be the heroes. I love the policemen and the firemen. They instilled in me great things. All my friends and all the people I see out there working, everybody in our community, they're all in. And these are people that we love, and that they got to be respected. They can't not be disrespected.
Yeah, but people may come back and say, well, you're warehousing the homeless because, the homeless population will grow if this entity takes place.
Well, if the homeless, I don't see a homeless problem. I see, because we got homes. I see people that don't have any vision. If you're not working, if you're not participating in what we're doing and giving into things, I don't know what the answer is for you, but you're not going to be hanging around here, because it's going to be popping. People are going to be popping with their families and having things. We're going to be generating wealth from inside, and people, like I said, like Shawn said, I believe in a better Burke County. I do. I see it, and it may seem like I'm blowing smoke, but I'm telling you what, I believe it with people's pride, with good leadership, with people with vision, with bringing the community up. We can turn this thing around, and this will be the best. That's the only way I know how to say it. The best community in North Carolina.
To kind of tie in what you're talking about too, Danny, with this drug rehab center, it just goes back to the fact that we haven't thought everything through again. This is one of them things where, oh my God, this is a great idea. And it's not that it's not a great idea, but we don't think it through. We don't think about the effects it's going to have in the county. We don't think about the effects of how the consequences on the taxpayers is going to be. And another thing that you just, your question relates to is we haven't sat here and did our due diligence to have step programs to where we help them, number one, find work, which in turn helps them find.
We can't find work for the people that's going to be running the place.
And so with that being said, we've got to do our due diligence on these things. And this is just another prime example of where, our government has failed to, do their due diligence, have everything laid out in a good, extended, long-term plan. And again, this is one of them programs where, I feel deep in my heart and I feel convicted at the fact we need to help these folks, but we need to do it in the right way. And we need to pump the brakes. And we need to say, hold on, let's make sure we have all the I's dotted, all the T's crossed before we move forward with any such project like this. And then put the burden back where it goes, which is onto the state and the federal government, not the Burke County taxpayer.
Yeah, I feel that strongly.
That's good. Well, gentlemen, we've tackled some realistic topics, of course, that the citizens of Burke County have wanted to turn around and learn about, a perspective from each and every one of you. Mike, do you have any closing comments?
I'm excited about working for the citizens of Burke County. I already work now for you, providing homes and things like that, and a whole new genre of what we're doing with the Stroud's Building Supply and stuff. But I'm excited to be working with Shawn and Brian, and I'm excited about what we can do with some new vision. Check out the things that are coming up. We got some forums coming up. This is coming. Get out and vote. Get the citizens get out and vote. This is a primary for Republican. So that's how it's registered. And so anyway, get out and vote. Coming up soon, and we're going to be hard at it, still putting all this stuff out in front of you, so you know us a little bit more.
That's it, Shawn.
I would just say this. I know a lot of people are like Mike and myself, and so many others in this county where. You put long days of work in, and then when you're done, you have to come home and attend to families and things of that nature. And it's hard to delve into the government, and talking to Mike and Brian. And, that's one of the things we're committed to is the fact of making all this information accessible to you. Like I know a lot of folks I've talked to had no idea about the proposed $60 million Health and Human Services building that's coming to the county. A lot of folks didn't have no idea about the $60+ million new Department of Justice Center, which would take our courthouse and move it from the current downtown and move it to a different location, which would affect local business, local restaurants. It would affect the attorneys. It would affect so many different people, and folks don't know that. So I challenge folks to kind of start delving into this stuff and looking into it. But equally, this is what my challenge would be to folks. I think that you have three very viable candidates who really want to affect the change that you want, not what we want. And I think that the only way we can do that is through your voice. And your voice now comes starting February 15th in early voting, and it leads right up into Super Tuesday primary of March the 5th. But the only way your voice is going to be heard, the only way that you're going to see the change that you want is you've got to get to the polls. You've got to vote. And you've got to remember Shawn Freeman and Mike Stroud and Brian Barrier. If you want to affect these changes, again, just please, 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 I implore everyone, even if it's not for me, get out, make your voice heard, and
Yes.
vote.
Good. Well, I know that there's going to be Burke County Chamber of Commerce is putting on, the primaries candidate forum, Meet the Candidate, which again, that's what we've been trying to do
Yeah.
here. And it's going to be on February the 8th, ladies and gentlemen, 2024 at 5:30 p.m. There'll be some light refreshments served prior. The forum will begin at 6 p.m. At Western Piedmont Community College in Leviton Auditorium. And if you want any more information, they can contact you at your website, Mike?
Yeah, they can find me at electmikestroud.com. We've got all the podcasts and the questions and things there where you can reach us and support us and things like that. Support us. We need your help financially. Support us.
That's good.
And mine is simply through Facebook. You can find me under Shawn Freeman for Burke County Commissioner. Any questions you have, you can send that through Messenger. You can send it through the Facebook page itself, and I don't mind if you want the question to be public, we put it out there because I have nothing to hide. I have, we talk about transparency. This is another form of the transparency.
Exactly.
I'll answer your question right there. And I think in a lot of what you'll find is in a lot of cases, if you ask Mike, myself, or Brian, we're probably all going to relate together and we're going to understand each other and we're going to know and probably feel the same way. But will there be those times that maybe we don't 100% see? Sure, that will happen. But nonetheless, we can still talk about it and I can hear your views.
Yeah.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you want your voice to be heard again and have the opportunity to meet the candidates, February the 8th, 6 o'clock, Leviton Auditorium at Western Piedmont Community College. And we look forward to seeing all of you there. So I'd like to thank each and every one of you for turning out and being here with me today. And I appreciate your candid responses.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
I appreciate you.
Thank
Thank you.